إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Our dear viewers, once again welcome to our program, Truth Unveiled, a program where we unveil the true and beautiful teachings of Islam on different issues or topics. Today, we shall be discussing the topic divorce. That's the issue divorce. Previously, we saw in our episodes that divorce does not just occur. Before you divorce, you have to be married. And that is, we talked of marriage. We saw how beautiful is marriage in Islam. We even reached an extent of saying that it is very bad, very annoying, even doesn't even look morally good or socially good that people should go in for a man and a man, which is today's thing. Let us see that we fight this. Kadek Mumin is your host, and with me, I moved with Sheikh Nurdin Sabba. He is a missionary of the Muslim community in our country, Uganda. Sheikh Sahib, say salam to our viewers.
Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Today, you helped us to understand what is meant by marriage. I would like still you to help us to know what after marriage there may come in unjust, there may come in some uncertainties, that issues that can lead to maybe the breakup of the marriage. What is the Islamic teaching of this divorce, and is it allowed in Islam, and what is it? What is divorce in simple terms?
All right, thank you very much. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Mr. Moderator, when we talk of divorce, simply we mean the dissolution of marriage. It is quite good that in our last episode we talked about marriage.
Yes.
But as we all know that things happens in life, and when things happen in life, it means even in the scheme or that institution of marriage also has issues on its own. You find the couples have some issues, misunderstandings that even can lead to the divorce. Just as we say that divorce means dissolution of marriage. In other words, in a way, how marriage comes to an end. And you see that the couple that were together, it is no longer working, and they are no longer together in marriage.
We no longer have a wife and
their marriage
husband.
has been terminated at all. So this divorce, actually in Islam, you find that it is permitted, it is accepted, but with conditions.
Yes.
And when you look at other regions also, you find that divorce is there. When you critically look into their scriptures, you find that divorce is there. Well, some still they claim that divorce is forbidden. That's why for them, mostly you find some saying that once you are married, it is up to death, that it is forbidden. I mean, it is for better and for worse. There is no such concept of divorce in their scriptures or in their religion. But Islamically, divorce is allowed, though with some conditions, as I told you. And indeed, when you look at when you look at the methods that Allah has put in place to protect this marriage, you will
wait.
come to understand that indeed Allah does not like at all this divorce to happen.
In fact, that could be my question. Islam advises divorce, or in fact allows divorce. And you are saying that Allah dislikes it. It reminds me of one saying of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the lawful thing that Allah hates most
is divorce.
Is divorce.
Yeah. Just as I told you, you can take an example when people are getting married.
Yes.
The way people are happy, those who are around, everyone is just praying for you. Let your marriage be a successful one. Everyone is just rejoicing. Plus you, the couple. Now it reaches a time that now you are no longer married. It is very, very unfortunate.
What has Allah put for us?
But Allah, as I told you, first of all, this divorce in Islam is of two ways.
Yes.
We have talaq and khula. This talaq is initiated by a man. It is the man who initiates that divorce. That, you know what, my dearest, things are not working and I'm divorcing you. That is talaq. Then when we look at the khula part of it, it is the woman. If she's having discomfort with the man, if she has issues with the man, then she can also apply for that khula, and they can make, this marriage can come to an end. Now, when we look at the Holy Qur'an, as I told you, that divorce is the most hateful thing in the sight of Allah.
Yes.
When it comes to halal things. When you look at the Holy Qur'an, chapter 4, that is verse 35, you see that Allah says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ar-rijalu qawwamuna ala nisa, that the men are the guardians of the women. Bima faddala Allahu ba'dahum ala ba'din wa bima anfaqu min amwalihim, that they are the guardians of the women due to those favors that Allah has given them upon others. Then he goes ahead and say, since men are now the guardians of the women, what should the women do? He says, فَالصَّالِحَاتُ قَانِتَاتُ حَافِظَاتُ لِلْغَيْبِ بِمَا حَفِظَ اللَّهِ. These women should be righteous, virtuous one, that, and they are those who are obedient, and they guard those secrets that Allah has told them to do. So that is the women. Now he goes ahead and say, وَاللَّاتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ, that if these women, you fear that these women, وَاللَّاتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ, they may misbehave. Those women who may misbehave, yes, or at times they do misbehave indeed. What do you do? فَإِذُوهُنَّ, you should admonish them, advise them. If you and your wife, you have some misunderstandings, and you know that your wife has misbehaved, at least talk to her, advise her, admonish her in every manner that she can understand, politely. Don't beat, don't do what. Allah has said you should first admonish them, advise them on what you don't want, on what you want. This I like, this I don't like. Please try your best and change it. Once that method has not worked out, what do you do? He goes ahead and say, وَهْجُرُوهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ, that if you see that that method hasn't worked, what do? You leave them in their beds. As in, you separate. But you're still at home, still fulfilling your responsibilities, but when it comes in the night you're going to sleep, just sleep aside. Leave her in the bed. So when she realizes that maybe the man is not giving me time because of such and such a mistake, she will come to her understanding. If that method doesn't work out, still Allah has given you another one. Once when you separate the beds, you're not minding her in that way, meaning you're not giving her her rights of conjugal relation, then what do you do? And she doesn't mind, you should go ahead and wadribuhunna. You should at least beat her. But this beating shouldn't be purposely in a way of causing injury or harm to her. Those are the three methods that Allah has put in place. Your wife has misbehaved, talk to her politely.
Yes.
If she doesn't change, then you can leave, separate the beds so that everyone is sleeping on his or her own. Then when that method is also not working, you can now beat her a bit. Give her some beatings so that she come to her understanding. She understand why you want her to do like this.
Our dear viewers, for anything we leave out, visit www.alislam.org and everything will be just on your side. I do believe you see how beautiful are the Islamic teachings and how good, how just they are and how peaceful they are. Sheikh Shishaib, maybe that you've shown us how important and what Islam says. And at the beginning you talked of Christianity, talking of divorce. Do they also have this concept of divorce in their...
Actually, this divorce, as I told you at first, is found in other religions also.
Okay.
But as I told you, their injunctions or the injunctions that Islam has provided for the Muslims are quite better, far away from those of other scriptures or religion, whatever you may say.
Yes.
As I told you, Islam, Allah does not like divorce. He hates it. But once the situation demands that it should come over, then you have no right to limit someone from divorcing, because some people are sitting on fire. Some people, they don't have peace at home. Yet the purpose of marriage is that you should get comfort, you should be peace. You should be peaceful at home with your partner. But some people today, they don't have that peace at home. They are always in scuffles, they are always in misunderstandings, and yet they don't want to solve them also.
I do believe that's why today's generation is a different one. Huzur is ever telling us how we can bring peace within our families. And peace begins within our families.
Exactly.
These are the people now who are going out to disturb other people on their peace. Because if you fail to bring, if I'm a child and I failed to see my mother giving peace to my dad,
you also mentally you will not be stable mentally.
Yes.
And physically also. Because whatever you're doing, you will be disturbed with that thing at home. So that's why Allah has brought Islam, alhamdulillah. We are so grateful that instead of being in such a discomfortable life, you can go for a divorce if the situation demands, which is not the case in other religions. Now, when you look at the Judaism, you will find that divorce, it is talked about there also. When we look at the scripture, if you may allow me to read it, it is in Deuteronomy 24, verse 1. It may go up to around verse 5. But for the sake of the time, I'll go with one verse. In Deuteronomy 24, verse 1, it says, when a man takes a wife and marries her, and it happens that she finds no favor in his eyes because he has found some uncleanness in her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her out of his house. This scenario of divorce, I told you it takes about 4 to 5 verses, but what I wanted mostly is in this verse, that it is a man who writes down what they call the bill of divorce. The Bible has referred it to as a certificate. Once he realizes that he cannot continue with the wife, he writes down that certificate, he gives to the woman and sends her out of the house, that from today you are no longer my wife. So you can see how harsh that rule is.
Without, like what we've seen, what
a
we've
woman
seen
has
Islamically.
no right to protest, whether whatever the man has written for is of her fault or not. She has no right to protest. She has no power, she has no capacity to do anything. Once the man is dead, is dead. Once he finds out whatever has brought anger and says, from today you are no longer my wife, it is final. It is the final verdict. So from this you see that it is kind of, you know, since there is no, it's very rough and harsh. There is no consent of the woman, and in that accordingly it shows that the Jewish law has given the man such a right and what we call the final verdict against a woman, because the woman will not do anything at all.
She has to agree.
You just have to agree for whatever the man has, has decided. But see, we have seen the changes.
Yes.
During the Talmudic period, when actually most of the Jews, we saw some improvements that they tried to I don't know, I should call them amendments. They tried to amend this law.
Yes.
And the court now tried to decide now that the court can compel a man to divorce his wife on the grounds of, one, if the man is not providing her with the basic needs and, you know, not fulfilling his responsibilities towards the woman,
yes,
the court can compel that man to divorce. Still, you can see that it is still on a man to compel him to divorce. But at least it has some favor of the woman, because he's not providing.
Yes.
Then also, if it so happens that this woman is not having her rights as a woman, let's say the man is not giving her right of conjugal relation, she can also, the court can compel that man to divorce her.
But still, they are not like, it is the lady to say, let us divorce.
Yeah.
The lady is seeking, like, just
actually, you know why Judaism is acting, they were acting like that? Because they considered, they preferred a boy child more than the girl. That's why you will see.
Of the pre-Islamic Arabia.
Yeah.
Before the coming of the Holy Prophet
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Girls were just buried alive.
Exactly. They were not considered in the society. Having, you know, when you have a male child, you are having having peace, you have riches, you have prestige, you have honor, respect. But having a girl child,
it is a curse.
They saw it as a curse. So in the same way, the Jews here in the Judaism law, you will find that a woman mostly, if she bore only the girls,
yes,
a man can chase you out of his house
just because
and divorce you, because you are not having a male child.
But yet this is from Allah.
And let it so happen that you are barren as a woman. You cannot you cannot bear any children. It will be a good reason for you to do what?
To divorce her. To
divorce you. And you go.
Without just any...
So you see that the improvements that were made during Talmudic time only favored a woman a little. Because still a man would divorce you just because, at least she would complain that I'm not getting this, I'm not getting my basic needs. The man is not fulfilling his responsibilities, yet as a woman, I'm fulfilling my obligations. So this bill of divorce was drawn in the court, and also it has been written on the parchments in Aramaic.
Yes.
Yeah, that bill also would be witnessed by at least two witnesses, which according to them, it would be people of 13 years and above, of age, of course. So, and there will be a male. And from there we understand now that what do we get from this Judaism law? One, it is the only man who has the right to divorce his wife, of course, and that is the final verdict. Two, the woman has no right to, or has no power and capacity to protest whether she's at fault or no. That is true. And when we look at this law also, barrenness, if a woman cannot produce, it was a very good reason for the divorce of that woman. And also maybe we see that according to the writings, witnesses of 13 years and above, it means these are children, which is not the case with Islam. Islam at least should be 18 and above, or at least the age of maturity. That should be the witnesses on any matter.
We would have drawn more on to other religions, but we've been joined by our brother, that was Abdurrahim Tuesje, and I would like him to help us understand what does the law say is a counsel by profession, and he can also, you've talked of the law giving us that capacity. Our brother Abdurrahim, help us understand the law. What does the law say about divorce?
Thank you, Brother Mumin, for giving me this opportunity. Basically, divorce refers to the dissolution of marriage. It may also refer to the process of terminating the marital union or marital obligation that every spouse have under the marriage contract. Basically, when we are looking at divorce as a topic as we have been given it today, we might look at the divorce under several grounds under which, or the circumstances under which divorce may be applied. Divorce is basically categorized into two ways under which it might be emphasized or under which it may be put into consideration. First of all, we have what we call judicial separation. Judicial separation whereby, as spouses, you may agree that once there is this issue and this issue, we might attend the court so as the court can be able to separate us. Then another way is separation by agreement, whereby we might consent as spouses and we agree that in case of this marriage being a contract, we might agree that under this circumstance, we might decide to terminate our contract, our marriage contract. Therefore, we might decide to divorce. Divorce has several grounds under which it might be put into consideration, and one of the grounds is adultery. Adultery, when someone or one of the spouse commits adultery, it may be one of the grounds under which divorce might be admitted. Another ground is cruelty, whereby if one spouse or engages into causing injuries or becomes so cruel to the extent of injuring the other party might decide to seek for divorce in the courts of laws. Another ground might be dissertation. Dissertation refers to the process by which one party decides to leave without a reasonable cause or without a reasonable factor, decide to leave the other party without attending any or without giving any reasonable cause or any reasonable factor why he's leaving the other fellow marriage partner. So under that consideration, dissertation may lead to sex starvation, under which it may also be regarded as a ground for divorce. Court has not been granting divorce on several occasions based on other factors. For example, under our laws, our section 14 of Ugandan Act, the one of Divorce Act of Uganda, there are those bars under which the courts might consider not to grant divorce. First of all, the first factor or the first bar is the condonation. Condonation refers where the spouses make fraud or deceive the court to make it believe that there have been some kind of grounds for divorce. Therefore, once the court comes to believe that there is an existence of deceiving or fraud among the partners, so as to make the court believe that there is an existence of any ground for divorce, it might refuse to grant that divorce.
Thank you a lot for your submission, and I do believe you took your time to contribute, and you did a lot to contribute to our program. Sheikh Sahib, do we have grounds for divorce?
Yeah, of course, we have grounds for divorce. Actually, when you look at divorce, of course, it has grounds, and such grounds which we have to look at before we make an end to this marriage. First, what are these conditions? One, we will have to look at, maybe someone will have to bring adultery as a reason that my fellow partner, I've caught him or I've caught her in adultery. Committing adultery, most of the times, even in the law, as you heard the council saying, is one reason that can bring marriage to an end. And people here, they don't have that patience, that you have gone into another man or into another woman, yet we are married. That one is not there. Then, when you look at the cruelty part of it, cruelty is also, but mostly this happens to women. When a man is so harsh, he's harsh, every time he comes back, he has to slap, beat, and causing harm to the woman. So if the woman cannot take up these things, she can apply for a divorce. When the man is not giving her comfort, she can just deal with that. Then also there is also desertion. At times desertion comes when a man leaves the woman without any good excuse and he just go away. Then the woman will have to wait, that is 1 month, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, up to 10. Is still waiting for what? So some women, they are encouraged to apply for a divorce if the man just disappeared from nowhere.
Yes.
And
Maybe
there is no reason. You have
war.
tried to look here and there, is not found. At times they just neglect these women.
I thank you for coming and
welcome.
for also seeing the invitation and paying attention to it. It has come to the end of our episode. We meet in the next episode as we discuss more about divorce, and we also get to know, because Sheikh Saib has left a question in me, that is talak and hula. Let us meet in our next episodes and we shall discuss that. We meet in our next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم